Hello, and welcome to Knights of the Night Actual Play Podcast. This D&D 5th edition adventure, The Heretic, was written and run by your DM, Scott. And now, please enjoy episode 506, titled, Always Try to Be Friends with Your Camel. Actual play begins immediately.
Hello everyone, this is Scott, your DM for this 5e adventure, The Heretic. With me tonight, starting on my right, is...
My name is Tom. I'm playing Aldarusha, a human male cleric of Amira and a skill-seeking rogue.
Hi, I'm Mike, playing Marduk, a male half-orc fighter, graduate of the Academy, and an Eldritch Knight of the Fist of Amira.
Hello everybody, I am Jim, playing Grodor, a hobgoblin warlock, and one of the desert traveling Fists of Amira, searching for truth, knowledge, and the heretic's burial place.
I'm John, playing Melody, a female human cleric, third of the exemplar family Harmony, a world wanderer and ex-ambassador turned political operative in the Fists of Amira.
And I'm Thomas. I'll be playing Gabrielle d'Angelis. She's a female Ozmar paladin and a holy Fist of Amira whose belief that our goddess is still alive has been shaken by recent revelations.
Okay, everyone, we're going to take a brief aside before we go and finish our last bit of this particular session that we played. And we're going to wish everybody a happy holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah,
Kwanzaa,
Festivus.
Yes, all of those and more. Any holidays you want to celebrate, we want to thank you. Have a great new year as well. And what we're going to do is something that I'd like to do every single year, and I should have done before, and I apologize. And that's give a shout out to those members who are listeners, but also patron members who help us keep our account going in the sense that we pay a fee every month to make sure that every single, like we're about to release episode 503, every one of those episodes are available to someone who is a new listener and wants to go back. So there is a monthly fee, and all these people help us pay that. So I'd like to do a shout-out to Undrel, Jason McDonald, Eltree, and Tom Lutz. Thank you very much for donating.
I'd like to do my shout-out to Greg Conant, Ari Jukel, and Luke Green.
I'd like to shout out to Tommy Vorio, Jonathan Kay, Doug Blythe, and Alan Hicks.
I'm shouting out to Oscar Cassell, Jim Hoffman, Steve Arizia, and Peter Humberg. Thank you very much.
I'm shouting out to Boons, Strongsad, Emeralis00, and Robert Doust.
And lastly, I'm going to shout out Stephen Ryder, Brownie Davis, Porter, and our friends at Misdirected Mark Productions.
So thank you all for helping us keep this podcast going. And again, I'd like to wish you all happy holidays and have a great new year. And with that, we'll get back to the adventure. Enjoy.
Where last we left off, the Fist of Amira had ventured into the city of Tarask, the city of Palisades, a city with a large hobgoblin and human population that sits on the southeast border of the land of Amira. The group split up after breakfast, each having something to do during their day. For Grodor, it was a visit to his mother's encampment before she headed north with the other soul guards off to war and Morn Keep to the direct north of Tarask. For Gabrielle, it was looking for supplies and kind of outfitting herself for the desert travel and the Badland travel to come. For Melody, Alder, and Marduk, it was a trip to the caravansary and a chance to meet with their guide and set up logistics for their departure into the Hollowlands. We left off with all of the logistics taken care of, the group meeting back together at the caravansary, with Melody needing one last errand to fulfill before they could depart south across the river and into the Badlands that await them.
I've never been to the city before, so I really don't know if there's anything I would want to do here. But I do know my friend Melody has some concern or an issue. And I do spend a bit of time talking to Marduk about that gentleman. Apparently had a bit of a problem with you in particular, only in the sense that he was ignoring you, which I believe to be disrespectful and kind of odd.
If he was a threat or I had any consideration for him, I might understand it. But I don't believe I recognized him, so I didn't really have any context for what his issue was.
Right. He just seemed to be ignoring you, and truthfully, I consider you the person who has helped us the most over traveling over these lands, and somewhat comparable to what he does. And yet, he knows nothing about you, but he still seemed to totally ignore you, as if you were someone of unimportance to him, which seems odd, since you're a half-orc as well, right?
If I remember correctly, I tried to do an insight or some kind of recollection, and I think I rolled like a natural 1, so I don't have any conscious memory or thought or recognition to this person, right, Scott?
Which is why I'm filling you in, because I rolled a natural 20.
Oh, that's right. Well, yeah, but even so, I mean, I'm a little disconnected from...
Maybe you could take it like you thought he read it wrong, because your natural 1 was so, and then we can reintroduce this when he's obviously a problem later.
I don't remember how much we got into it before, but when I was propelled to the present, my orc tribe and my village were all long gone, so I followed Amira into the academy, and that's where I've kind of reconstructed my tribe, for lack of a better word, with everyone here. So I haven't interacted, to my knowledge, with current orc tribes or groups or cities or villages, so there's nothing I can think of that would warrant animosity, from this person. And I can't imagine it's him being orc hating, since he's also an orc, or maybe he just doesn't like that I'm another half orc. So that's his problem, not mine.
Perhaps it's an alpha male situation.
Are you not from a different tribe or something that they look down upon or something?
That's what I was actually thinking. I don't know this area, and I don't know the different tribes. Is there a combative nature?
Can you tell by the look of an orc if they're from a different tribe, by the way they dress?
I would imagine if there are different tattoos or symbols of whatever clan they were, but...
For the half-orcs, they generally assimilate into the...
Right.
In this city, Tarask, they assimilate into the hobgoblin and then the minority human populace. There's not a tribal identity. You're all a tribe of Amira, and that is your identity for the most part. Now, the orcs, not the half-orcs, but the orcs in the Hollowlands, or the Orcish Autonomous Region as it's known, or OAR, or those have tribes. Those have very distinct groupings that you've read about in history books, that some get along with each other, some don't get along with each other. But tribalism, as an ism, is real in the Hollowlands. But in Amira proper itself, with the half-orcs, and there are so few orcs in Amira that are allowed in the actual country that aren't relegated to the Or, there's no tribalism for the most part at all. They distance themselves mostly from the orcs who are believed to have betrayed Amira several hundred years in the past.
What I would suggest is, if he's feeling like an alpha challenge is going on, I can handle myself in that or control it. However, I acknowledge to Gabrielle and Mel and Alder that you're sharper than I am when it comes to the social aspect. So if you guys just keep an eye out and watch my back, I'll handle stuff coming at me from head on. If this person decides to come at me sideways, that's the part that I'm not ready for.
What bothers me, Marduk, is he has no concept of how important you've been to this entire mission.
I don't feel I need his praise or his acknowledgement. I mean,
Nor
I appreciate it.
Nor do you deserve his disrespect. That is my only point.
Well, thank you. I mean, and so far he's just got a stink face, and I'm not going to put him on his back for that. But I also agree won't tolerate overt disrespect. So I'll keep an eye on it. But we also, as fists, have kind of a protocol or a standard to follow too. So while
He's a better man.
well, I may not want to. I'd like to settle it in the old way, but I'm also wearing a badge of the Fist of Amira, and sometimes I am reminding myself of Amira's teachings and what I learned at the academy. So if I'm not rising to his bait, if you will, that's my reason.
And as I stated, you are clearly a better man.
I do not disagree with you.
Grodor, why don't you tell me about some chorus stuff to do, and then we can transition away to Melody if she's already getting her stuff on.
I believe when we left off last time, Marduk was actually going to then head towards the inn that you had stayed the night before by the West Gate, the small village outside the West Gate, and bring the horse and cart to the caravansary so that your items could be loaded and procured or stored if need be, and if you weren't going to take them into the Hollow Lands with you.
That's correct, because we're taking camels. We can't take the horses in the wagon.
So no tourism, first work. Makes sense.
I'm gonna pack up the heaviest of my books and whatnot.
So you're going to go back to the inn with Marduk and
For a
pack
moment,
up.
just to make sure I don't have anything left behind that we can't put on camels. I'm gonna send some of my supplies to my family's house, and anyone who wants to leave stuff behind that we'll pick up when we come back is welcome to pile it into this collection that I'm gonna store with my family.
Oh my.
So there's a company that you know of in the first palisade, which is the lowest level of the city. You can hire the delivery company to take items that you bring in to them to your estate in the third palisade, where the brownstone, where the Harmony family
That's
resides.
how I'd prefer to do it, because I don't want to directly confront them as of yet. I can wait for that to do it on the rebound. We are in a hurry today, and I don't know that I won't get dragged into something.
Right. Well, we'll say that the delivery of books and various items that you want delivered, and then everyone else can kind of add in if they want to have anything taken to the Harmony estate. The cost is 3 gold pieces to have that delivered safely.
I can pay that.
Any equipment you're not bringing with you can be unchecked in your item list, and then it doesn't add to your total weight.
Can't honestly think of anything in my inventory it's safe to get rid of. But I am, well, okay, actually, now I've thought about it. Gabrielle has to get rid of several formal outfits that she definitely won't be bringing into the depths of the desert. And probably some other things I could think of if I spent some more time. Various accoutrements that a noble might possess.
Would we trade our routine gear, like from our Explorer packs, for more desert gear?
Could definitely do that at the caravansary or an independent shop if you wanted to switch out.
I was
As
thinking,
far as food and water goes, and a tent to sleep in, that kind of stuff is going to be packed by your guide into your camel's saddlebags. But anything else that you want, picks or pitons and some specialty rope or something that's specific to traveling into the Hollow Lands, make sure you purchase that before you depart so that there's no question. Or you want to buy an entire pack, like you said, instead of an explorer's pack, maybe adventurer's kit.
Right. From what I remember, and what I learned or what I recall from living in a desert environment, cover the flowing robes, which will help us kind of hold in our moisture and those kinds of things, and keep the sun. Exposure is the big deal.
Right.
Also, you do want to cover your armor, or else the sun will just start to roast you inside of it. Water, and I'm not sure if we have access to either through the temple or through other options, but any type of magic or spell that might help keep us with water or fluids would be useful.
Right. Altorn did say when he was packing, getting ready and talking to you, well, not you specifically because he was pretty much ignoring you, but to Alder and Melody, that he would be providing the water and the rations and the sleeping supplies for the trip. If you needed anything else, it was up to you to go ahead and get those.
Right. Well, from my point of view, I mean, Marduk is very limited in funds right now, so
Okay.
I only have a couple.
Gabrielle's got stuff to spare, and she's already brought a lot of her own gear. So,
Okay.
Now that she's been out to shop already, so she can lead you guys out if we need to buy some stuff. And I'm willing to, this is important stuff. If we need to survive in the desert, you'd know better.
Exactly. I would also give Marduk some money, not only for myself, but for him, because I'm going to hang around with Mel to make sure that if anything happens or anything needs to be resolved before tonight, I can assist. But I also trust Marduk to have a good choice on what we're going to need on this particular journey into the desert. I'm a city boy. You've been there before, so anything you would suggest would be helpful.
Yeah, I throw my 2 cents in because this is my hometown as well, so I know how to pack. I've traveled around in the desert. I know what to pack and what not, and what to wear and what not to forget.
Right. So let's say, not counting the kits that are available, like if someone wants to buy an adventurer's kit as opposed to an explorer's kit, or an explorer's kit as opposed to an adventurer's kit, that's up to you guys, or up to Marduk if he's going to be doing the main shopping for the group. As far as anything else goes, I'm going to say flowing robes, a turban for your head, again, to help keep the sun from scorching you if you end up traveling during a lot of the daylight. You could probably outfit the entire group, Marduk, for maybe, let's say 5 silver pieces for that, for both those. And I'm talking about standard issue. These aren't fancy. They're not incredibly, as far as you know, you're going to be in the Hollowlands for a couple days, hopefully. You're not going to sit there and buy extravagant robes and turbans that have patterns in them and with insignias and dragons.
Well,
and stuff
already
like that.
did. Why is he
just
telling me this now? No, yeah, she definitely went hardcore. She was trying to get fancy over here.
Oh, I'm sure she
I
did.
spent 15 gold for fine clothes that were well fitted for the weather.
I know the best shops to go to for that kind of stuff.
But for standard gear, 5 silver pieces a person.
Yeah.
For anyone else,
That's like 2.5 gold to outfit everybody.
Yeah, pretty
You're
much.
forgetting about Brother Byron, which is perfectly reasonable, but I think
But he wasn't buying
probably
for
do
you,
that.
so he wasn't buying for you, so
right.
because you already
that
bought,
still
so.
works. I already
Right.
bought mine.
2.5 gold is it.
Okay.
I can still handle that. Unless, did you actually give him money, Elder? I didn't hear the math.
Yeah, I gave him 3 gold.
Oh,
But
right.
does that include a still suit, Marduk?
So Marduk, you go ahead and get the cart. You get the 2 horses. You basically trade them in or have them stored at the caravansary. You go to the caravansary outfitter, spend 5 silver on each person to get some appropriate robes and turbans for the Hollowlands. And that takes you probably till about mid-afternoon to do that. So it's probably 3 bells, somewhere in that ballpark. After you've completed all that you want to complete, you probably find yourself in one of their inns or taverns that they have on site there, grabbing a hearty lunch in preparation for your departure tonight. Does that sound about right?
Sure.
All right.
I'd like to time it where my conversation with this father type is when his son is already out on the road, and I can just catch up with you folks and skip town if need be.
You think that's safe?
I think it's safer than us trying to stay in the city if I piss them off sufficiently. And we can come home to the welcoming arms of my parents when we come back.
Valid.
I would like to spend the time trying to figure out what these dice do and how we can use them to our advantage.
You're going to gamble, aren't you?
Could. I don't think that's what they're used for, though.
That's almost exactly what Marduk's dream was like. The lady called the dice, she rolled them, they were what she called. But maybe I misunderstood.
They were saying that these dice have been used to help them make decisions and keep that city on top of what's going on there. And how does calling numbers and having them come up help them with decisions with their city? Sure. I mean, people wanted to kill and steal these things. They got to have some fortune-telling use or something.
You can always misuse powerful artifacts. That's not a challenge. But if you want to find out what they can do powerfully, I mean, good luck.
Yeah.
I don't want to mess with that juju.
Yeah, and the only other thing that I'm kind of regretting not spending more time, if I could, on is going through and reading whatever text that you have inside your little paper buddy, because that note indicated that there's some serious revealing information in there.
There's two ways you could go about learning more about the item, Rodor. You could do a identify spell, which will reveal things to you if someone has access to that spell. You can also spend a short rest, 1 hour, attuning yourself to the item, which would then also reveal its power. So all you would need is a place with a little privacy, a booth at a restaurant that kind of just for you and yourself as you kind of focus in and gaze at the dice and kind of just meld minds with the item and just learn all there is to learn about it. There's that, using some of your magic to do that, or there's the identify spell, which is quick and dirty and quick.
Well, I'll probably do both.
We
I got
have
the
done
time
an
for it.
identify spell on this.
I haven't, I think we did, but
We discovered that it can do the spell.
It's a minute ritual to identify, and then I can do an attuning process afterwards just to round it out and give me a full flavor of what can be done and to see if I can do it.
Augury.
Second level divination ritual. We also mentioned that it was the kind of artifact that as you get higher in levels, you'll discover more potential uses for it. And I want to say that I'm certain the pillar of that town was not level 10, but whatever, it was fine. That's how D&D goes.
Right. Augury can be done by the dice once per day without casting the spell. It's a power within the dice themselves. So as if you're casting the spell, you can use the dice and get an answer from the dice. So you don't necessarily need to be a magic user because you're not actually casting a spell. The dice itself is doing the work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's what the identify spell revealed to you as of this moment. When you're at 4th level, you're able to do the augury. Is there more to it than that? There very well may be. As you gain in level and grow more and more in tune with the artifact, you may uncover more secrets of it as you go through different tiers of your D&D character. So you attune yourself to the dice for 1 hour after lunch, Grodor?
Yes.
Anyone else after lunch have anything they want to handle? By the way, everyone can spend either 2 silver for a Spartan lunch or 5 silver for a robust, tasty lunch at the restaurant.
I'll spend 2 silver. We have a whole journey home to do after this, and I don't envision getting more money.
Okay.
I'm going to lend Tome to my buddy here. Tome being our little friend.
Paper Drake. Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure which volume we were going to look at. I have Hope, takes the form of a diary.
When you say friend, who did you mean you're going to lend it to? Grodor?
Yes. He was mentioning feeling bummed out that he didn't get time to study it.
I really don't have any actions I wish to take. So, like I said, I'm hanging out with Melody, and if Melody's not doing anything...
like I said, I'd want to wait till the last minute so we can't have the two of them gang up against us.
Right. And would you prefer me to stay with you or to go with the group?
I wouldn't mind help. Mostly this would be us trying to escape the situation if it turns sour. And
Gotcha.
I think you and I can do that pretty easy.
All right, great.
That takes us back to Grodor, who spends an hour attuning himself to the dice, and then you hand him which version of Tome?
I'll let him pick from the list. I don't know if he has to be attuned to Tome to get these transformations to happen, but I don't mind helping out in that regard.
He would need to be attuned. You know this after attuning yourself to Tome. That
I
when
couldn't
you
remember if I did that purposefully or just by accident.
It was more accidentally by staring at it for a long period of time. It took the place of the hour short rest when you stared into Tome's eyes and let yourself be pulled into that different reality. But you could tell Tome to be any one of the volumes that he would like to read and hand it to him. Or you could have him become attuned and take you off of it. There
That
can
ain't
only be
happening.
one person attuned at a time.
Yeah, I don't want that.
That's not happening.
He's already got dice. This is my friend.
Right.
Yeah. Like I said, I just want to, whenever time we can, and hopefully you'll have it when you get back, I think it's a good idea to spend time, if I can, to go through what's in there to see if there's anything that can help us out.
Okay. You probably have a couple hours before Altorn is ready with the camels to depart. Did you want to spend any of those couple hours researching any of the versions of Tome that you could?
The grimoire is the text that summoned the goat creature all the way back in,
Yeah, when the guy said there's some pretty heavy-duty information in here, that was even before that was put in.
yeah, that was Copsshire. The Orcish Histories, she says travel, rather, not travail. Tome takes the form of Orcish History book.
No, that's what we're here in Orkland, and we're about to head into their burial ground, so I might as well look up some of the history
Yeah.
while I have time.
Who wrote this Orcish history, Tom? Or is it just compiled by an anonymous author who owned this before you?
I shrug. I don't know. Let's open the page.
Is there an author?
Is there a photograph of the author with an about section?
Yeah.
Doesn't every book have that? You speak the word travel, and Tome changes into a somewhat thick history book.
On a zoomed out level, is it a well-known Orcish historian? Is it a member of my family who has been like the kind of gatekeepers to Orkland for a minute? Or is it a native orc?
It is going to be written by a native orc. That name is going to be Bagrak, B-A-G-R-A-K, Metag, M-E-T-A-G. It is a relatively sizable history of the Orcish. Basically, it highlights Orcish history from roughly legends and fables from the time of when the gods walked the earth and the wars were fought to about 200 years ago, 160 years ago, somewhere in that ballpark. So it has a detailed amount of information of Orcish history within that time period. Again, starting with fables and ideas of legends and things along those lines, all the way to more concrete history that highlights various tribes. If you want to make a roll, you can make a roll, an investigation check, Grodor, as you look over the book for a couple hours before you're departing.
All right. I got a 12. Kind of in the middle there.
Yeah. You focused on the most recent stuff just because you wanted to have it be as close to modern as it can be. And of course, you noticed the history stop roughly 200, 150 years ago. But you were able to learn about the 10 tribes that were banished to the Hollowlands. And you're able to learn, roughly speaking, who was the leader of the particular tribe, what their belief system was, whether they embraced the change of being relegated to the Orcish autonomous region, or whether they fought it. Basically, you able to take in quite a bit of information about And again, when I say quite a bit, I mean 2 hours worth in a pretty thick history book. But you are familiar now with 10 tribes in the Hollowlands.
Cool.
And you're familiar with their leaders at that time and their belief systems at that time. But again, that's a long time ago. And Altorn finds his way into the inn where you're studying and where everyone's kind of milling around, waiting impatiently, maybe having a beer or a mead as you're waiting to depart. As the sun starts to fall in the western sky, Altorn comes into the inn, looks around, and comes to your table. I have the camels ready. Are you ready to depart?
Yes, I believe we are.
Now, from what you guys plan on doing your own little thing and then catching up?
We're not telling him that.
I know that, but
that's fine.
I'm just trying to remember what was discussed.
Okay, what was discussed is something I didn't mention to Melody, but I believe we should go with them, ride slightly out of town, and then say we left something vital, and then Melody and I have to go back.
Wow.
Because if we ask him to go without us, he's going to question. He's going to ask why, and there's going to be a problem. We don't want them to turn around. Keep going. We'll catch up with you. We just have to pick something up. We'll be right back.
Just so that you have a full picture, because I always want to present a full picture if I can.
Mm-hmm.
There is no bridge over the Barren River to the south. When he was talking earlier about preparations, I might not have mentioned it, but he certainly did. His game plan was to get the camels outfitted while you guys got your own situations outfitted. Get on the camels, take a large raft across the Barren River, because it's relatively mild. It's not very aggressive. It's not white water. It's a very slow-moving river at this point in its life as it journeys towards the sea.
I'm sure there's a common ford there area where it's semi-safe to cross.
It is in the sense of as long as you're using a raft to do so. It's too wide of a river. It's Mississippi wide to use a parallel.
How far?
Raft with just a string across that they pull it back and forth?
There are rafts that go across pretty regularly. There is rope that is across the river that can be used, and they have poles as well that the oarsmen use. That you guys, some of you would have known this from having been in the city in the past. There is a small village/fort on the opposite side of the river in the Orcish Autonomous Region. Before you really get into the Hollowlands, there's a small little outpost there called Zoras. And Zoras would be the point that he would want to then leap into the Hollowlands from when he was giving you his background of what his plan was for you.
So that's outside of Dolgug?
No, this is outside of Torask. The actual crossing and bridge is outside where the river gets narrower by Duldug Keep. That's just north of Duldug Keep. And the village of Duldug, that's where the bridge across the river is.
How far from the city is this river?
There is the caravansary. Then there is a road leading towards the river. I would say probably quarter mile, half mile. It's short distance. And then you get to the rafts that go across the river to the outpost of Zoras across the river, the gateway to the Hollowlands.
Okay, then I probably gave this suggestion, which I said, and Melody, do you disagree? Do you think that's not going to work? Then you know this area way more than I do.
They could set up the raft and we meet them there.
It's going to take a time to load the raft and get everything on board.
Yeah.
Sure, loading camels onto a raft to go across a large river is a time-consuming endeavor.
So we could say you'll head out there to the raft and we'll meet up with you?
Yeah, that would.
We have something to do that can only happen at night.
That would obviously work better if we say we still have something to take care of at the last minute, but we're not wishing to delay you. Please go there, start loading the raft, and we'll catch up to you. We won't make you wait long. which is what we tell him when he arrives.
All right. He frowns. Oh, I was hoping we could get across quickly and have most of the night still to travel. How long do you think this will take?
I look to Melody. 10 minutes?
10 minutes. Just dropping a message off.
You can't use one of the
This is a person
handful
you can't
of
find easily.
I have messengers here that could handle messages.
I don't know if it's necessary for me to roll the persuasion, but a 6 ain't nothing.
Ain't cutting it.
Right now it's just talk. He's just slightly put out because you're changing the plans last minute and he wants to get going and wants to use as much of the night as possible. So he's just saying you can't use one of the messengers that I have available. I can get a message to someone quite easily for you.
It's too important for that. It's a family matter. I'm sorry.
10 minutes, you say? 15 minutes? How long is this going to take?
10 minutes. No more than that. Just leave the camels that Melanie and I will be riding, and we'll catch up to you.
I'll take the camels with us if you don't mind. It'll help us get them boarded onto the raft, and so we don't have to waste further time to get them loaded on once you arrive. Then you can just climb aboard the raft and we're across the river. All right?
Sounds good.
We'll make it there double time as soon as we have the option of leaving.
All right. The rest of you, let's go. He turns about and heads off towards an area where the beasts of burden are kept. Gabrielle, Marduk, and Grodor, you don't have to get on your camel if you don't want to. You can actually just grab it by its reins and walk it to the river, or you can actually try to get on it and ride it if you'd like. Your choice.
I've learned that you should always try to be friends with your camel and get it used to you because it's what helps keep you alive in the desert. So I'm just riding along with it, talking to it, petting it.
Walking along with it or riding it? You said riding along with it, which could mean either way.
I know I'm walking along with it at first to get it used to me, and then maybe halfway I'll jump on to see how well it behaves.
I'm paying attention to how our host does. If he's already riding, Gabrielle's going to try. But if she's not, I'm just guiding it because that's just how she do.
Right. He is walking
do a lot
his
of
camel.
following the lead of people who know what they're actually doing when it comes to regular society.
Yes. He's walking the camel towards the river.
Right. Walking it will be.
Okay. Walking it is not a problem for the two of you so far. Marduk, are you walking or riding?
I'll be walking.
Okay. So all three of you grab the reins. There's a little bit of resistance, a little bit of stubbornness. Altorn says, just be firm. Be firm but kind. And you see the way he grasps the reins and the way he tugs at them firmly while patting the camel on its nose and talking to it in a low voice. And his camel, sure enough, gets up from a sitting position, stands, and starts walking and following him. All three of you can go ahead and make animal handling checks. Because you're not riding the animal, because you're walking it and getting to know it first, you don't have advantage, but the DC is lower.
Marduk rolled a 6.
Grodor also rolled a 6.
And then Gabrielle rolled 21, graceful as can be.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
Marduk and Grodor struggle to get the camel. It stands, but it doesn't move forward. For Gabrielle, you are able to get the camel to stand and start following you. After a few more moments of pulling and talking to it in a low voice, both Marduk and Grodor are able to get the camel moving towards the river, down the pathway. It just took a little convincing and a little bit of coaxing is all. You go ahead and spend time as you move towards the river doing that. We switch back to Alder and Melody. What are you doing?
Doing another of those cutting through red tape to get to the boss situations. This time I've got a letter of introduction to Real Blackthorn about a transaction, a package he's waiting for that is for his hands only.
A scribe that works for the caravansary disappears for a few moments, comes back with more than a surprised look on their face, and says he will see you right away. Leads you and Alder down a staircase into a subterranean underground passage. It's a little rough hewn, but there's rooms off of it and doors. It's definitely a ways under the earth. You probably went down a good 10, 15 feet before you hit the corridor, and then you're led past several doors and eventually led to a door at the very end of the hall. The door is knocked on by the scribe, and all you hear is, "Enter." The scribe opens the door, steps to the side, and allows you to walk through. You see a moderate-sized room, probably 15 or 20 by the same. It's square. It has a large desk. It has cabinets. It has chairs that don't look overly comfortable, like the overstuffed chair that he's sitting on. But obviously the thing that dominates the room is a older, large, grizzled, gray-haired half-orc. Decidedly more half-orc than Altorn, his son. And when I say he's more half-orc, I mean he's really more orc. He's not an orc, but he's just, when you look at him, you could see that Altorn must have taken after his mother much more than the father, Rild, did. Because Rild looks almost orcish in appearance, but still being a half-orc. He's a brutal-looking man. He has scars. He wears an iron crown. He wears thick, heavy leather and hide armor. He has a beard to the sides, but stubble on his chin that's several days old and gray in nature. His hair is black with streaks of gray, long and oiled back. He is just a very fierce-looking individual. He doesn't stand. He just puts his arm out and says, "Do enter."
All right. And then
We enter.
some strong arm bolts the door behind us.
No, the scribe just closes the door politely behind you. Doesn't seem to be bolting it or closing it or anything else. The door's being closed and you hear footfalls as the scribe recedes into the distance back to probably the post that you found them at. So, what do we have here?
You sent for a book?
Actually, didn't send for it. More of a middleman, if you will. But what do I owe the pleasure of a harmony in my presence?
This one recognizes me.
I knew that the courier would be well placed in order to get through customs in temerity. Didn't realize it would be an exemplar's daughter.
A bit more than that, too. This package was traveling with the Fists of Amira.
Or so I've heard. Congratulations are due.
Thanks. It's about that might complicate your business transaction.
Gotta be honest. Not a big fan of complications. I believe you were paid quite well to deliver the package. And if it was in the presence of the Fists of Amira, I would assume the package would be well protected on its journey.
It's better than well protected. It's probably exactly what your client wants. It's awakened.
Awakened.
And with that, Tom comes crawling out of a backpack and pull off the backpack and put it on the chair in front of me.
Okay. Tome immediately takes to the air, puts itself on your shoulder, and then wraps itself around your neck. Not all the way around your neck, just around the back half of your neck, so that its tail is on one end of your shoulders, your left end, and its head is rested comfortably on the right shoulder. This was the package. I was told it was a wooden box with contents in it. This creature was inside.
It seems to have eaten the book. Perhaps? I'm not sure what was originally meant to be shipped to you, except that it was not supposed to be in this state. And she waves at her shoulder, takes him out in her arms and says, "Hope," and manifests as the diary.
He blinks in surprise, but his facial expressions don't change. And he says, I was under the impression it was in a locked container.
Well, sir, you don't understand. There's a number of events that occurred on this journey that were very dangerous. And some things were destroyed as we came along. Luckily, not this creature.
Well, let's put it back in the box and hand it over, please. It has a destination, which I intend to fulfill as the middleman.
I don't believe the box exists anymore. That was my point.
And neither of those were really getting to the heart of the matter. I don't think we can hand this over at the moment. Its contents, the many forms it can take, are useful beyond measure to the Fists of Amira. And I don't know who your client is, but I don't much care.
He chuckles. Has a bemused look on his face.
I say hope again before we get too much further that I have a live creature with me that has more flight power than a book.
Right. He smiles after he chuckles and says, "You were a paid courier. I don't really care much what happened along the way. Turn it back into a book, and I will get it to its proper owner."
Do you not care about what's happening in the world right now?
I care about three things: coin, companionship, cooperation. If you can offer one of those three, then maybe we can talk.
You don't care about life? About the fact that we're in a war now? About the fact that there's armies on the way? And as Melody has mentioned, we may need this creature to help keep this city and you alive.
Say the word evil, and Tome manifests as a grimoire, stretched with, what was it, human flesh? Some kind
I
of
believe so.
disgusting leather. And flip through the various diagrams of demon summonings and drawings and whatnot to the benefit of his vision, that he can see these things.
Right. He says, "I tend not to repeat myself, but there's three things I care about. I can protect myself. I care about coin, companionship, and cooperation. Are you willing to offer money, yourself?" And he's looking at Melody when he says it, not you, Alder. "Or a favor?" And, things get lost sometimes. Packages don't always get delivered. But I've got a reputation to uphold, and those are my terms. So if you've got one of those three, we can talk. If you don't, turn it into a book and hand it over.
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
When was this book supposed to be delivered?
They told me it would arrive in 12 days. It has arrived in 9.
So we've got 3 days to answer your question. Correct?
Technically, yes. Technically, it's not expected to be here for 3 more days. I can show a little leniency as far as allowing it to reappear, we'll say, in 3 days. But I have a reputation to protect, and I intend to protect it. So it's going to be one of those 3 things, or you're going to hand it over.
I look to Melody.
You gave us 3 options, and I would know the specifics before making such a decision. If you need time to come up with what those are, that's understandable.
I do this for a living, I'll tell you right now.
All right.
Coin. 500 gold pieces to make this disappear. Companionship. Need I say more?
Perhaps.
Cooperation. 1 favor. No strings attached. No maybes. No ifs. No buts. 1 favor. I called in when I need it. When I want it. You and the Fists respond. one of those three if you want to keep the book and have me say got lost during transportation. Again, I've got my assets to protect, and I intend to protect them. You were hired for a job. You want to change the rules? These are the new rules.
I again glance at Melody and give a very slight nod.
Well, I'll come back with that decision.
Please do. I'd rather not have to track you down. Although, I'll know where you'll be because you'll be with my son.
Is your son considered your companion?
My son is nothing but a good tracker. Otherwise, a complete disappointment.
Well, we'll do our best to make sure he returns.
I'm sure you will. Nice chatting with the both of you. I truly look forward to seeing you again, Melody. And there's a creepy leer when he says that.
Yeah, I was feeling creepy.
Good. I wasn't sure if it came across my voice or not.
No, it came across.
All right.
I head towards the door. I'm looking to Melody joining me.
Yeah. And I say evil in a bit of a utterance to turn
Yes.
him back.
He turns back into the paper drake. Perches
Yeah,
on
but
his
it was a
shoulder.
bit of a double entendre.
Yeah.
And I
Don't know if I don't know if Rild caught it or not. You don't know. He doesn't react. He was looking down at the ledger after Alder pushed his seat back to get up. You're not quite sure he got the double entendre?
Just to be clear, I never sat down.
Oh, I thought you were sitting. Okay.
Oh, no, I was standing taller than he was just the entire time. Because
yeah, I was standing as well because it was easier to display books that way.
Mm-hmm.
And we leave, and we don't have to run.
I agree with the evil.
Yeah.
My hope,
I
mean,
we get back in 3 days.
not only that we get back in 3 days, but we're going in a place that we are supposed to find whatever is useful there. There could be some treasure.
This casts a new light on Altorn's distaste for the Orcish.
Yes, I suppose it does. I could see why he wouldn't like, well, he's got daddy issues. I think we have two choices because one of the ones he was suggesting was rude and disgusting. We do our best to get back as soon as we can.
Yeah, it legitimately took 15 minutes. Right. You made up a number and it kind of came true.
Yeah. And we hurry along the way. Honestly, I think there's a chance we're going into a tomb. There is possibly something there of value that we can use to deal with the situation.
Yeah. I don't relish selling off Orcish heirlooms to pay off a bloodthirsty merchant prince.
Nor do I want to give a bloodthirsty person a promise that I will do what he requires. Because I have a feeling that whatever he requires is disgusting. And the third option, that's just not going to happen. Yeah. He clearly meant spending time with you as being a
sexual favor, I know.
Yes, and less meant me, and I don't want that either, just to be clear. So we have two options here. Well,
I'm not gonna.
We have a third.
The Fist of Amira is some of the most power I've had since I was in the good graces of my family. I'm not about to throw that away just because some overstuffed merchant thinks he's worth it. I say the third option then is to stiff him. Fuck him. Fuck that guy. It's not as if I'm on good terms with my family. If he throws a fit and fucks up their shit, I'll feel some guilt, but not as much.
Truthfully, how does it change the fact that he doesn't get what he wants? He doesn't get what he wants. He doesn't get to deliver this. Nothing changes. It doesn't change his reputation.
No, I'm sure he has the collateral to make this go away. It's just what he can get from us.
Holiday, I don't know how you got in this situation, but you know I'm here to back you up. But I think we have the option of trying to find something of value. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a tomb.
Yeah, it's just more money than I've ever held at one time. That's not...
No, I know.
It's probably small potatoes to my family. Maybe I can guilt them into it. We'll see what we have to do when it comes to that.
Indeed. We should just hurry along now.
You guys approach the river. Where the river is at you headed south, and then there's a slight turn to the west. So you're actually looking to the southwest across the river. And for the first time, as you got over some low promontories that were kind of blocking your view from the city of Tarask, at least the lower levels of the city of Tarask, you see the Hollowlands in the setting sun as the sun sets over the mountains to the west. You see row upon row upon row of low slung mountains or tall hills. And you see these crevices, these pathways through these hills, almost like if it was carved out by water millennia ago. It looks to all your mind like a incredible, desolate maze that's in front of you across the river and just past small outpost of Zoras. And I do have a picture of what the Hollowlands at this point in the Hollowlands, this part of its geography looks like. An example of what you're looking at. These taller hills that are sheer, obviously striated with various colors of minerals, and these pathways leading through it. It looks all the world to be a treacherous, bleak travel throughout the night. Luckily, it looks like the maiden and her sisters are rising in a clear sky, and you'll have some good travel available to you tonight as you make your way through the Hollowlands. But first, there's the coaxing of your, when I say your, I mean Alder and Melody's camels onto the large oversized raft that is on the northern side of the river. So you guys eventually coax your camels onto the raft. It's an incredibly large, it's 30, 40 feet across. It's a mammoth raft. There are 3 oarsmen or polemen who start pulling off the bank and pushing the raft across the river, while there are 3 handlers who pull on ropes, pulling the raft across the river. You're on the eastern side of the ropes. You can see in the distance on the western side a raft returning from the south shores in the outpost of Zoras back up to the city of Tarask. You make a way across the river after about 45 minutes to an hour. The sun has set at this point. You debark upon the soil to the south side and to the Hollowlands proper. Again, the outpost of Zoras, which is nothing more than a outpost type tower, almost like a wooden tower that is open on the bottom. It's almost like lattice work going up to a guard post 20 feet up in the air. Besides that, there are several low-slung wooden buildings that make up the small location. There are orcs, guards, that are on duty when you enter off the raft and into the actual proper of the Hollowlands. An elderly orc asks for your papers, looks them over, gruffly assents to the fact that you have the right to be there, and stands to the side, and there's a pathway leading into the Hollowlands. And that's where we'll stop for the night.
Did you want to give any?
I want to give 2 points of inspiration tonight to Melody and Alder for their conversation with Rild. Everything else I think was pretty much standard and run-of-the-mill. That's what we'll do for tonight's inspiration. I want to thank the listeners for listening to tonight's episode. Appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it. And I want to thank the players as well. Thanks, guys, for the effort tonight. And we'll pick up again next week with the excursion into the Hollowlands. Cool, thanks.
All right, good night all. Thank you for listening to Knights of the Night Actual Play Podcast. If you'd like to send us a question, comment, or feedback, you can reach us in a number of ways, including Twitter @KOTN_podcast or by emailing us at feedback@KOTNpodcast.com. And don't forget the iTunes reviews. We also have a Facebook page which can be found at facebook.com/KOTN.podcast. While on Facebook, you can join like-minded folks at our fan page at facebook.com/groups/KOTNfan. And lastly, there's our blog at KOTNpodcast.com, where there's an Amazon link on the right-hand side. For those of you who'd like a more steady way to help us pay the bills, or if you live outside the U.S., you can help by donating to our Patreon page at patreon.com/KOTN. And please remember to join us next week for more mystery and adventure. I'm Tom, playing Alder Rusha, human male
Hold up.
cleric. What?
You haven't started recording. I didn't say it. I didn't say yes.
Why not?
Upper right,
Back on.
upper right corner says recording.
Upper
You did.
right.
I didn't hear it say that. And I didn't.
Okay, the upper opposite of right corner, the left corner,
My mistake. Sorry.
it should say recording, right?
We were talking
I
when
see
came
it.
on. Yeah,
It's glowing red. I see it.
Yeah, we were talking when it came on, Thomas, so I think it was a little bit hard to pick up when it came back on again, which is why you might have missed it.
Sorry.
No problem. Anytime someone wants to verify we're recording, not a bad idea.
Maybe Melody didn't come back after.
I
the
unmuted myself and then remuted myself. Very thorough.
Is it Pythons? Is that how you say it?
Pitons, I think they're called.
Pitons?
Well, yeah.
I've always heard them called pitons.
Me too.
I'm going to call
I-
it Pitons then.
Yeah, I agree. It's
Okay,
for
so-
climbing, right?
Right.
Yeah, if you,
Come on, I knew you were heading towards the Dune thing.
I was trying not to throw in some anachronisms there that
Well, I threw it right in there.
walk without
And
rhythm.
That'll
you
come
won't
out.
attract the worm.
That'll go to the outtakes.
All right, but I'm
All
calling
right.
worm sign at some point. I have to.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. Oh, ah!
oh, it got lost in well, I almost said lost in translation. It's a movie, isn't it? If
Gross.
Curl the 666.
Yes,
Number of the beast.
I was going for creepy intense, and you guys did a good job of
That was
going with that
sufficient.
vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you went with the vibe well, and I think you guys handled yourself well. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out. Whether you can give him one of his 3 requirements, meaning most likely the coin, because you don't want to give the favor most likely.
I was
And-
waiting for a creepy just like, wow, he's kind of cute. Maybe I will go for that second option.
No, I was looking for the X card.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. You've got yourself either a fairly well-positioned and well-placed, dangerous, if you will, adversary, or maybe just an acquaintance if you're able to meet his demands. It'll be fun to see how it plays out.
Other possible titles for this episode available for voting on our Facebook fan page were That Ain't Happening. You can always misuse powerful artifacts. I throw my 2 cents in. He has a stink face. He's got daddy issues. And orc hating.